Greetings, everyone. Good to see you all here, or gathering in. I'm 7 minutes early this week, just gathering my things, and I hadn't done an advance video, so I thought I'll put this on ahead of time for those of you who gather early. Yes, I really am running 2 live videos today, just showing you the setup here. We're getting ready to go in again with darker, deepening our darks, and we'll start adding gesso soon. We'll probably spray it again with fixative, just so you know. Here we are. Join us. We go. All right, so we're just going to sit down in a couple minutes and get at it for this week. We're looking at adding gesso. This is the same cow you saw last week. I finished off some of the work on it. Some of the work in the charcoal elements, and now we'll go and deepen some of the charcoal and see where we go with gesso next. So we're starting at 6 here. Those of you who have been running back from the blood donor clinic in Clarington today, you may just be getting home or just getting home from work. And that's cool. Grab a cup of tea if you like. We'll sit down for a few minutes and just begin to create once again. And this time we're creating with cow. Let me know how the volume is for you, would you please? I'm going to just reposition a microphone here, and hopefully that will, give us even better quality sound. Sorry, that might be a little muffled there. Just make sure you've got. So good to see you, everyone. I hope the right microphone is working. I can't really tell right now, so we're just going to run with it. And once again, this week we're using our charcoal sticks. I'll try and show you a package. This is what it looks like. It's willow charcoal. So I use coats. I'm also looking at getting some charcoal that I can file down into fine points. I haven't done it yet, but I'll keep you posted since I enjoy this medium so much. And I know I'm a tiny bit early just because I didn't put an announcement out today, so I want to make sure that if people were wondering if I was on here, that I was. We don't have a name for this heifer yet, so I guess we'll have to figure that out. It is a blonde one, so maybe it's just going to be Blondie. I was figuring in the middle of lockdown, if we're going to have a cow, it ought to be a really beautiful one. And just want to grab the image I'm working from so I can show you what that looks like. So how are you all doing this week? That's what I really want to know. This is what we're working from as far as an image goes. I'll try and get a little straight on there so you can see it. And I divided it roughly, not exactly, so I could see how it would break up. As you can see, these are richer, darker lines because we will end up, oops, sorry, moving my paper in place. We will end up adding some. This is not as much of a white canvas as I normally leave because so much of this cow was covering the screen, but I didn't just want to have its head in there. So compositionally, it's a little weaker than I would like to normally give you. But the intent was to illustrate the technique. So here I have my charcoal stick, which is literally, it bends like a stick of wood from the fire. And that's where it comes from. I'm going into the edges of the eye because this is how I'm going to get the depth that I believe we need. You could continue working with your charcoal powder if you wanted to. There's actually if you like an eye or an eyelashes, you can see from the cow's other eye over here. I'm just going to grab a blade so I can sharpen this a little bit more. And I welcome you to ask any questions you might have about the process I'm using, whether or not that works for you. I love creating with charcoal. Probably my favorite medium. It's the most relaxing for me. And you can see that literally what happens when you simply just add a couple of lines. Once again, our kneadable eraser is handy, just sharpening the edge. I should have a piece of sandpaper for this because it is charcoal. For our purposes tonight, I just used an X-Acto knife. I could just use the edge of a piece of wood. Maybe I'll do that. Get a little bit better tip on it. Oh, already I can see as I'm looking at the screen as opposed to looking at our heifer, I can see that this is making a difference. So what happens is you get a relatively light gray background, and then we want to deepen it up with charcoal. Before I leave that eye, just going to get our brush. If I brought your camera in closer, you would see that there's a grain to the charcoal, right? So I want to just touch this up so that it's not as grainy. It's not just sitting on top of the canvas, but in fact is becoming part of the canvas. So whatever image you're working from, I'm thinking we should do, you know what, this is my favorite. I may do a class on this actually, because it's my favorite kind of work, is working in charcoal. Eyelids, very similar to human. There's layers, just like we age, and our layers show up in the eye, in the folds of the eye. It's the same with animals. keep thinking I might start creating again just live at nighttime, but you know what? It's funny how tired you can be at the end of the day. Maybe you don't find yourself getting weary, but I do. And I find, I've actually wrestled with sleeping long periods of time, and I'm not wrestling so much anymore. I seem to be needing more sleep. So I'm going to just run with that for this period of time. It's almost like the added bonus of this season. Just trying to mimic the hair, leaving some negative space for where the hair of this wonderful bovine comes through. I did bring a smudging stick this week. I've always called these stumpies when I'm working with people. Just, it's a stump, right? I don't use them much. But I did have one that I bought for one of my kids to try. So I thought I would try it here as well and see how well it worked. Normally I would recommend you spray your pieces outside so you're not breathing the fumes inside the house from your chemicals. Even low odor chemicals are still strong enough that you normally want to be doing this outside. Right? Nevertheless, for our purposes tonight, I might do a little bit. Otherwise, I have to leave you staring at the wall while I go spray something. Now, I've already used the fixative here, but you can still see, let me see if I can get you in a tighter area. You can see this better. You can still see that was sprayed and then I added. If we kept this sharp, it will still go back in and soften those edges or clean them up even more, or blend the charcoal in, so the transitions are not as stark. Okay, and how cool is that? So that's just using your paper stump. You could also highlight with white. I find that white, I did bring some out tonight, just a tiny piece to try. You could try white Conte. I just find that white ends up soaking in when you use it anyway, so why bother? Let's just use white gesso when we get to highlighting things beyond the actual page itself. I have a tiny piece of white chalk that I brought out. Might soften some of these darker edges, right? Love to see what you're working on. If you wanted to post it and tag me or send me a private message. I'm going to try some of this white just in the background here to soften. That's nice. So, just give a blurred effect of this out of focus background. That's the intention, is just we focus on this bovine creature and the background fades out, including this beautiful, lovely, highlighted yet nonetheless faded friend. It's all in the details, right? And if we take the time and relax and look at the piece we're drawing, you see better. Just using my kneadable eraser again here. See how well that works with the chalk. I am getting a bit of a muddy gray here, so I want to be careful to avoid that. If I were to put more gesso in here, then it might whiten up some. And there's a beautiful curl. to this creature's hair. So I've already, if I had one of those super razor sharp erasers, that might be really nice right now to go in to do some of these highlights. See if I can get a better shot of this for you. There we go. I love his chin. I'm going to take one of my gloves off because I want to be able to use my kneadable eraser. Again, this is beautiful kneadable eraser. Yeah, so we're just going to see if you can see this. I'm trying to let you see it. It's just a bit hard to show you what it does. This has already been sprayed with a workable fixative, so as opposed to a permanent fixative, right? So if I had a super sharp, razor sharp eraser edge, I might be able to get a finer detailing of the hair inside the ear. Reality is it doesn't have to be that detailed to suggest that it's there, or just the, again, it's very similar to our ears. The older we get, we see lots of people with fuzzy hair around their ears. I know, interesting, right? It's reality. That's what the cow has as well, this little cow. Pulling, erasing these whites. It's all about the highlights, patience, the use of light and dark. How many of you saw the article about Vincent that I posted from Makoto Fujimura? I'm reading a book from him right now. Extraordinary artist. If you don't know Mako or Makoto, please do look him up. Amazing Japanese American artist, just extraordinary individual and an extraordinary extraordinary creator, as well as an extraordinary person. Yeah, so how are you all doing tonight? Are you having a good week, or is this one really brutal? I can't explain why. Some weeks, right? Some weeks are just super tough for people. And maybe that's because of the profession you're in. Thank you to all of you who are serving in front lines. When I was donating blood today, thankful that I can, and thankful that we have that ability to do it here in where I live. When I was donating blood, the folks that I was asking those doing the nurses taking the donations whether or not they had all been vaccinated. They'd only just recently been vaccinated, I guess, because they were considered to be working with healthy people, and they weren't the first ones in the queue for vaccinations. So, can't imagine. However, they still kept doing their work. So I'm going to post on my Facebook page. I'm going to share something from another department of the charity that I'm part of in Canada. She's a nurse in an Ottawa hospital, and her co-worker took a picture of her singing songs to her patients. And I think she was in ICU. May not have been ICU, and I believe it was COVID, but CTV Ottawa picked it up. Oh, that's my puppy upstairs. The ever quiet Brady. He would make a really beautiful sketch. You know, dogs, well, people, everyone, they're just incredible when you see people painted. Or in this case, I call it like painting with charcoal. And it really is like watching paint dry here. It's just not a fast process. I have to get a bit of an angle on the edge of the eraser, so it is hard to show you, other than to see the difference between when I start and when I stop. Also, I'm going to pull out an actual charcoal eraser here. This one's a little bit gummed up, but that's what a charcoal eraser looks like. And I thought I'm going to try that tonight as well and just sharpen it, just like you would a regular white eraser, and see if that makes a Makes for a good tool.
It might.
I'm going to try this tiny little piece and see what happens, see if there's any difference. No, I need a stronger piece. So I'm just sharpening more. One of my friends has an extraordinary show in Ottawa right now, but it's of course shuttered. And yet we still keep making artwork. Well, that works a bit. Right? Because you can highlight with gesso, and that's fine. However, it is nice if you can take it, take it back down to the white. So I think I prefer my kneadable eraser. So I'm going to take bigger strokes now because I have had these fine, I've got some patterns built in, and I'm just looking at lights and darks overall on this piece, trying to get them fade out a whole section. See the highlight on the cheek there, or under the eye. Same, just get a sense of the faded areas. Because I have put a fixative on it, it does hold it a tiny bit, not too much, so you can't be super aggressive. I was being a bit aggressive there. There we go. Highlighting there. Yes, it just really is this detailed work. It does make a difference in the overall finish. The highlights, there's like a dimple or a piece of a flap here underneath the chin. The chin is overhanging that flap, so the hair is protruding down a bit. Right. So the fixative holds the chalk or the charcoal a tiny bit better. It just doesn't make it, you can still erase it. So I'm just going in, following the patterns of the hair now. Trying to look at my image while I do it. This guy's like rows of curly hair. Oh, he's so fun. What do you think, folks? What do you think? Are we having fun yet? Let's see. I'm just going to grab Facebook here to see if you've got any comments that I need to respond to. No comments. Okay. So if you may not consider yourself an artist, but it would be cool to try this. And I know I've really tried to slow down this particular drawing so that you could have some time to catch up and do your own work. Hopefully be inspired to pick up a piece of charcoal. Just give it a try. If you live nearby me and you want to do a curbside pickup, I can always send you with a little piece home so you can try something if you happen to have a canvas, or if you have some paper at home you want to try it with. It's worth a trip to or ordering from Curry's or Desserts, or I guess you could order on Amazon, depending on where you are in the world. Here we are. Just love this cow's little hair in the ears. It's really cool. Makes it for me. The nose and the ears, they're fun. And again, super curly, so the hair goes every direction. It doesn't. It's not very obedient to the. Well, clearly these are not groomed animals, so we're not looking at. This cow has not been to the salon. This is not a salon select cow. Little heifer. Edge right by their eye. That's more to fun. Oh, that was nice. That just pops that eye socket right out. Right, just getting a little stronger here. Yeah. Oh. Remember last week I talked about following the patterns. You look at hair long enough, you see, it's like watching wet hair, matted hair. There's patterns you can see in it, right? And then you tend to work with those patterns as opposed to trying to draw each little hair. It's just you're trying to make a believable story. You just have to take the time to do it and stay with it long enough to make mistakes, right? Stay with something long enough to make mistakes or have a breakthrough. I'm going to go with the charcoal here and just get a few more. So again, I can draw the hair, I can draw what's behind the hair to have it stand out in the background. Paintbrush. Just blend that all in, and then I'll go back in with the eraser. Trying to create a believable background, working with the contrast. Round curly hair. And so we go in and out, push and pull, creating a believable story with charcoal. Everyone this week, we may be all, those of you who haven't filed your taxes yet are likely in the final steps of that, hopefully. Artists, we all, often, I won't say all of us, but we have a challenge on just like everyone else, but we're sometimes challenged for the details of accounting and finance. Absolutely critical to have all those things done. Yet, I mean, who wouldn't rather be painting? Okay, we're starting to get a believable cow here. It's starting to emerge. And it literally just takes this time, hour upon hour. I mean, you can work faster, right? I have a second piece I've started with charcoal, and it's a violinist, a blur violinist, if you like, with their hand just hovering kind of over the strings. And I will do that one in a quicker style than this. For when we're doing something that is, it's interesting, you know, you may not feel that you can draw a cow, but you can certainly tell when someone has created something that is not pleasing to your eye, or does not seem to be true to your eye, and your eye will see the difference. It's like human beings in portraiture. You may not be a portrait artist, but everyone looks at humans all day long, so you know when something is believable or not. That's the same is true. Oh, sorry, you didn't get to see what I was doing there. I know what I'm looking at the wrong screen to see whether or not you can see what I'm doing here. Let's bring that. That's what I was trying to get. You can't see me working in the background because I was just doing this area in here. It's just the background of a barn, maybe some windows. Entry points, right? Maybe there's a door here off in the distance. It's amazing how believable something can be if you just give a suggestion of it. That's not bad. A little too literal, possible. Again, we'll go in with our handy dandy. We could spray that and then highlighting it, just take it back a bit. Or we can use the paintbrush itself to take some of the charcoal off. So still believable, but just not as dark. Just a bit too dark, a little too distracting for the foreground. But we'll do the same kind of thing on this side. Soften those edges, make it sit well behind the ear. Yeah, there we go. At least looks like there's a suggestion of something behind this cow. It's out in the barnyard. I'll do something similar here. Okay, so just going to spray that again with fixative. Fixative we're talking. So right now, all we have is this sketch, right? Okay, there it is again. This is, you can get different kinds of fixative. I just, honestly, in this last year, I've taken whatever I can get my hands on. I don't want that to take a long time to dry. So we'll let it sit for a moment. If you have any questions, feel free to ask a question, and I'll answer it while that's just drying. I'll let you see it a bit more full on too, hopefully, and then I can move it again to go back to work on it. You can see a bit closer, see what I'm talking about with regards to the feathering and whatnot. Try and get it to focus on my hand so that you can see better the details. Alright, I'll put it back over here now. Oops. Well, that's it. It's decent, but not level, right? Try and get it a bit more level for you and lower. Okay. See the beautiful coat on that animal? It's just lovely. All right. So now we'll move into the gesso part. That doesn't mean I'm necessarily finished with my charcoal, but I want to be able to show you these, these next parts. Because what happens when you add gesso is fun. You just make it work so it becomes more of a painting, not just a sketch. It gets a bit messy. You have to pull it back, let it dry, and then you can do charcoal again with it. At least that's the technique I use. I'm just going to grab a sip of water. I'll just pour myself some water while that's continuing to evaporate. Again, this isn't a permanent fixative, so the gesso itself is going to lift the charcoal on the canvas. I have to be careful about that. And I need to get a nice, clean paintbrush. So just look really nice. This is when a new paintbrush is handy. There we are. As you might have noticed, I do a lot of different subject matter. I love the versatility of being able to do that. It keeps me from getting bored, honestly. That's the truth. It leaves me, however, as a generalist in the arts, as opposed to just getting my palette. I'm a generalist in the arts. I'm not a specialist per se, because I continue to do so many different styles, and I've painted for hundreds of hours. However, I still love the variety of capturing a wide variety of subject matter. And often, you'll see on my page, I have a thing up right now where it talks about, it's called a topic I'm going to be speaking on in May called I Paint Theology. It's what I do with my belief system. I love beauty, and so, there we go. Beautiful eyelash. So yeah, I paint. I believe beauty impacts us for good. And so sometimes I just like to create beauty. Even a beautiful cow. This could become the base layer for a colored painting, like a full color painting. Because I love studies. I do a lot of studies, if you like, sketches. So my strength is sketching. My strength is, I paint well enough. However, I would say my strength is still, drawing. Whether it's the tea towels from Europe and travels or local things, or like tea towels, meaning the sketches, small sketches I do, or this kind of thing, where I'm just enjoying drawing a cow. I have a cow. Maybe we all have a cow, this kind of cow, in COVID. I've really enjoyed over the years as well filling in for, get a call saying, okay, a life drawing artist is ill. Can you teach life drawings? Oh, sure, okay. Let's go teach life drawing. Might be a while since I've done a portrait or a life drawing piece, but you learn the skills over the years, right? This is going to be a lot of hours of feathery little hairs. Get a lot of them established by negative space already. I'm just highlighting things. Just bringing some highlights into play here. And my tiny, teeny, weeny little brush. It's important that I look at the reference photo. I'm not just making, even though it's patterns, my patterns are based on reality. I'm not just making up what hair looks like. It's because every, someone who owns this type of cow has to be believable. This is actually Karen Bromelstick. I'm not sure I'm saying her name properly. She is an amazing photographer and artist. Photographer and painter. She's taken so many reference photos, she has allowed artists to credit her for the reference photo. Since I had a cow handy the other day, the one I did on the wall up above this one. But I didn't have this kind of cow. So I have a friend who wants me to paint a gypsy banner, so that's going to be one of my next pieces, and I'm still working on the whole angel series. Giving an angel to a long-term care facility where my sister is. Golden Plow Lodge, because they've kept her alive as well as everyone else. I mean, people are always passing away in nursing homes, but of natural causes, or the challenges even of loneliness right now for people in long-term care. I don't know if any of you are watching in the medical realm, but wow, wouldn't it be great if we could take some of our singing and stuff inside with proper PPE and sterilization and singing through masks, like we do when we do. I mean, at my church, we sing through masks, like one person does in our YouTube recording, just to keep people safe. And I have the privilege of having at least rapid tests weekly if I want to, because I can visit my sister and have to have one before I go into the nursing home. There we go. Nice highlights coming on that ear. Start to see here comes the sun, right? You can start to see the sun. It's a long paintbrush, so you can use it as a long handle. I tend to usually hold myself off the canvas a bit with my fingernail, or sometimes I'll use a stick. There's a proper name for those sticks, I just can't remember. Yes, I do commissions. If there's something you want to have painted, just let me know. If I can't do it, I create or I curate. Right? So if there's some style you need or something you love, you can describe. It may be that I know an artist who would be highly skilled in those areas, and they could do that. Just using water with the gesso. I could use a glazing medium. That would be fine too. But for our purposes for drawing time as well, I'm just using just white. It's just literally here, white gesso and water. Believable rendering of this cow, this heifer. I've spent a lot of time working with large, thick paintbrushes, working live. And in my studio, in this kind of a practice, it's actually incredibly therapeutic. Just be cross-hatching with using fine lines just with this fine brush. It's very therapeutic for me. Now, folks I know, they may work faster than I do on these kinds of things. I don't know. I mean, you may be watching and you might be an artist and you might work very fast. For me, this is so enjoyable. I really don't need to work super fast. It's not about, this kind of work for me is not about how fast it's completed. It's about what happens for me when I do it, when I get to take time away from my regular routines and work. And I have the privilege, even for an artist, it's a privilege to be painting, to have the time in your studio to create. What a gift that is. It's a gift we give ourselves, just like if you get to go to the gym, if you have that privilege, maybe not right now, or you have time to walk or work out. There's so much fine webbing here around the eyes, just layers, depth, so much depth in this fur. It's just a weaving of lines, light over dark, almost like, it reminds me of the webbing of skin as it ages. It's just like, or the webbing of water. So yeah, it's hard to imagine on this little 12 by 24 inch canvas the time it takes to make a significant impression of the believability of the piece, but it does. So of all the weeks where you may have watched something, I'd be interested in knowing what it is you liked, what it is you appreciated the most. Our attendance is down tonight. I was thinking it might be raining, and people may find this enjoyable because of it raining outside, but it looks like the rain has stopped. It's a little cooler, but it's a beautiful night for a walk. Maybe you've gone out for a walk this evening. I'm thrilled if you have. Again, getting this believable in here. These areas around the eyes, just like our eyes. Just highlighting here. Highlight on the edge of the lid. Oh, it's starting to be believable now. You can always stop at any point, right? But it's wonderful to just push past, where you might say, oh, hey, that's a nice sketch. That's great. I spent a couple hours doing that, or 3 or 4, whatever it might be. Just take it that step further. You start getting something that's really beautiful. I'm enjoying this one. Oops. Maybe some of you are having dinner. Been able to have some dinner. I had a big salad before I started, so I would not be distracted by hunger since I'm painting in your supper hour. So there's a couple more people who've joined us. How are you guys doing this week? I'm going to look at the feed to see if it asked any questions. No questions yet. You're all just sitting so quietly. Which is fine. Just want to make sure I can answer your questions if you have any. Oops. Sorry, gang. Don't mean to bang you. You can create, blobs that bridge here, or we can just thread the ear over top of the highlights, the back of the cow. It is, it is just light color, but when it's built up with stroke after stroke after stroke, there's more depth to it. For me, it's more believable, rather than just, it's like having, if you're doing a picture with pointillism, dot, 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 dot. I've done those, and you can fill in a window as an example that's totally blacked out. Except that it always looks like a window that's totally blacked out instead of the subtlety of what doing it with the actual dots would mean, even though in theory it's just darkness. There we go. That's beautiful. You can see here the cow's eye. Highlighting that eye just with the fine brush. And it's starting to be believable now. I keep saying that all night long. Oh, it's starting to be believable. Oh, I'm almost believing in my own painting here. Like sketching with paint. Changing direction because this little guy is curly, or girl has curly hair. goes every direction imaginable. Unruly hair. You may have had a child, or maybe you have unruly hair. It follows its own course. Like little cowlicks everywhere. Okay. I'm going to go in and take a look at the nose here. Well, maybe after I just want to come from this eye, because there's a pattern of hair here that I want to capture for the sake of believability. There we go. Barnyard animals. I mean, hey, we're in Ontario, Canada. You may be watching from somewhere else in the world. But since I'm from Ontario, these are beautiful images. The other place I really enjoy painting from is up the eastern seaboard in Maine. Just driving down the farms that you pass, they're so stunning. Animals, beautiful creatures. And while the practices hopefully will improve as to how animals are cared for, they sure are beautiful to look at when they're out in the fields, walking. Yeah, I'm feeling, well, maybe do a horse, maybe we'll do a dog in a future week. Starting to be believable to you. So I'd like to know, do you believe we have captured something of the essence? That's it, capture, some people call them glory lines. Enough of the essence of what has been created in front of us to believe it. One of my friends, her husband passed away last night. Regular, an extraordinary life, well lived. Even in the midst of times when we don't see each other and can't celebrate one another's lives, people are still living and dying and doing extraordinary things, just like you, every day. Every day you can come and be your extraordinary self. Oh, I really am enjoying this little guy. He is a fun little cow. You are such a cow. Ha. Yes, you are. You're such a cow. next way. Just a total jumble of patterns. Creating our wonderful furry friend. Right? So you can build, you can layer in. This is just gesso and water. Layering, 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 taking time to enjoy yourself and relax. So, it's kind of like doing a puzzle, I suppose. Just layer after layer, keep looking at the reference, make adjustments as you go. But this is a lot of fun, lots of furry chin hairs here. You can see just where the hair follicles are. I'm just putting little dots down, and then I will brush them with my hand. Create a sense of hair. Oh, it's a lot of fun. I know we're coming to 7 o'clock again. Just, I might stretch my bones. I say this every week. I might stretch my bones and then just start again. Oh yes, fur right here. Every direction you can imagine. And we're back up here to patterns of fur. So, do you believe beauty, just putting beauty in front of people, can make a transformative difference to their day? Having a beautiful, natural cow like this, just smiling, well, not even smiling at you, just kind of staring you down. Does it make your day better? Makes mine magical because just the light. So all this is, folks, is charcoal, kneadable eraser, canvas, workable fixative, a little more charcoal, kneadable eraser, fixative. And now I'm using gesso and water. Just a blotch of gesso on my canvas, or on my palette. And a glass of water for yourself. And slowing down enough, just slowing down enough that we can move, that we can see, the patterns of, just the patterns, literally in this case, of fur on the back of a cow, and mimicking those patterns with a paintbrush. Right. Just moving slow. Wish you could, I can't really give you trying to give you the paintbrush itself so you can see how it's just pattern after pattern. And over time, then the buildup of the gesso and the charcoal will create a believable painting. I normally don't paint in black. I just use charcoal and water, charcoal and glaze if I want to do a drawing like this. But, maybe. You could easily start a glazing now of adding color and painting it if you wanted to, because I like studies. I love to draw beauty. I feel connected to the Creator when I do this, and I feel His pleasure as much as I feel pleasure in the joy of creating. Like this, it really works for me. It's so relaxing. Just trying to get these highlights right. Just ever so faint mouth lines of this little one. Looking at the reference photo to try to capture a believable image. And that's a wrap. We've been creating together for an hour. Yeah. Any questions? Does anyone have a question? I'll do my best to answer if you have a question. No questions? Well, hopefully that means I explained things well enough. For me, this is just an exercise in patience. And those of you who know me well, you know that I don't slow down, or I don't appear to slow down much when I'm out and about, when you see me out and about. But in fact, in my studio, this is just sacred space for me. And I relax and unwind. It's like sitting beside a fire. Everything is just beautiful and serene. And I rest. When your work is rest, how cool is that, when your work gets to be your rest? All right, let me try to bring you in so you can see a bit of a close-up. I'll try and give you, whoops, sorry, once again. Try to get you at a better angle so you can see this. I have to go back to a different screen. I guess it's kind of hard to get the full picture. There you go. There's our cow. It's coming, right? It's starting to be believable. I'll zoom in. You see some of the detailing. Doesn't show up fully. You get the idea. Whoops, I just pulled the camera right off the top of the, there we go. Alright, so until next week, take care, paint well, enjoy yourselves. Do stay safe. Be kind to yourself, please. Do something special for someone today that would make their heart sing.